Tonight in a special Fox Undercover report, Bob Donnelly shows us how police are battling cruisers for control of Southland streets.
Everybody in your cars, leave now.
One time I remember whole life that we want to have fun.
We'll go cruise around again. You know how it goes? This is a good way to have fun. No trouble, no nothing, but the cops don't let us have it.
Doesn't matter. They're gonna stop it. Not all police, just some of them. They harass us, man. We just out there having fun.
In weird news in general, Amazon will allow auto dealers to sell cars on its site, starting with Hyundai. What a surprise that Hyundai would be the first ones to be able to Amazon Prime delivery one of their cars. Hi, I'm Alex, and today we're talking about something good. Talking about something positive. There's a lot changing in the automotive scene. We got Wheel Pros being Hoonigan. We got new videos coming out. Leah Block's part of the F1 Academy. But most importantly, the cruising ban in SoCal, Los Angeles, I would say specifically, is gone. All right, let's start talking about it. Over time, cops started to shut down these cruising events. They weren't sideshows, they weren't takeovers, they were legitimate cruises. Or they parked up in parking lots and they just kind of sat down and they didn't do anything. Now, I'm gonna show you this video because I came across this video somehow in the depths of YouTube that give you a little bit maybe of a dirtier look as to what this cruising actually looked like. Most people think, for some reason or another, everything's sunshines and rainbows and car people can do no wrong. Guess what, asshole? We do dumb shit all the time. But this was a whole nother level of what people were doing when they were cruising. You got people doing inappropriate things to women as they hang out of cars. You got gangs and gunshots happening everywhere. You got police ripping people out of cars. Everybody thinks the cruising ban was specific to just the lowriders, and obviously the lowriders felt targeted by it. But if you watch this video, you can see like homies hopping around in a Volkswagen Beetle, also getting yanked out of cars by the police. So over time, it got so bad that eventually they made cruising illegal altogether. This is how it's defined. Cruising is defined to mean driving of a motor vehicle 2 or more times within a 6-hour period in a particular direction past a traffic control point so established on a portion on any street identified as subject to cruising controls by signs posted at the beginning and end and the controlled roadway that briefly clearly state the appropriate provisions of this section. You can't go up and down a street with a label on the side of the road twice in 6 hours. That was the rule forever. So much so that when the cops actually came in after the law was implemented, it created a lot of drama because cops were pulling over, quite literally, everyone. You know the whole, if you are maybe a little bit older, you'll probably remember there was a very tough time in the American history books when there was like stop and search clauses where cops could essentially, and this is so generalized, I don't even want to get near it. The cops could essentially stop and like search people at a whim in hopes that the law was meant to protect people against people that were illegally holding on to guns or weapons or drugs and things like that. Now, here's the thing. That sounds great on paper, but you can get a lot of tricky situations in which people feel like you're trying to connect four, and sometimes you don't always get it right. Anytime I talk about this, just know I'm being as careful as I can because every situation is unique, and I'm not a cop. I build cars. So that's besides the point. But when the cruising ban got into effect, a lot of the same things happened. There was a lot of generalization. There was a lot of overreaching that seemed to occur. And cops used this cruise ban law to do what they've always wanted to do, which is stopping people from potentially doing illegal things based on what they were doing, where they were driving, and sometimes what car they had. So that's the whole history behind why the cruising law existed in the first place. Now, as of 1/1/2024, that is going to be lifted. It's going to be made legal to cruise again. A lot of this law kind of wasn't really followed anymore as we went into like 2000 and 2010 because a lot of the issues surrounding why that was put in place to begin with stopped. And if you go around now, the biggest issue isn't cruising, it's street takeovers, which is a whole nother discussion altogether. So, it's legal. The word is awesome. Here's something that I find really interesting. My favorite part about going out to Reddit and just reading some of the comments, hopefully they're all true, is that some of these people that are on this thread have been around for a minute. 6'9" Cougar has a 69 Cougar 428, 1994 Mustang and SN95, and a Ford frickin' Ranger. This guy's talking about some of the individuals he used to hang out with when he used to cruise on Whittier Boulevard. He says some of them, the guys he used to go out with, have the attitude, but they slowed down and violence is definitely less because there was. I'm in my 40s, but some of the old veteranos have done time or just are at that age where everything hurts, so they're more chill. But I remember working off of Whittier Boulevard 20 years ago, and they were more likely to start stuff back then. Now it's different because the cars are too expensive, the grandkids want to roll, and nobody wants the trouble. Which is kind of interesting to think because there definitely was a problem back in the 80s. It only took 40 some years to lift this law, which is not really that big of a deal when you consider that it wasn't as enforced as before. But it does go to show that there are some things that are maybe laws or reasons, especially in the car scene, that we can't do because somebody ruined it for everyone. That's kind of funny because he's like, when the Whittier Boulevard sign is more peaceful than a random LA intersection, it shows times have changed because takeovers are now the next big thing. They're the thing that nobody wants to talk about. They're the thing that nobody wants to like address in the entire room. But at the end of the day, they're happening everywhere and they're getting worse. And takeovers are not exclusive to just cars. There's people on bikes and ATVs. There's people in Philly doing them. There's people in Oakland doing them. There's people in Chicago doing them. And it sucks because what's gonna happen is very similar, in my opinion, to what happened here on Whittier Boulevard in the 80s, which was, there was a lot of people that used the lowriding scene or modifying cars as an escape from probably either a shitty lifestyle or they were trying to figure out who they wanted to be when they grew up, and they found a ton of passion in cars, modifying cars, having cars, hanging out with family who worked on cars, passing those cars down to their kids. All of that got taken away from them because there's a few people out there that did the same exact thing. They just happen to also be doing illegal activities in the midst of it. And the same thing's happening now with takeovers. You've got people who want to go to car shows. You got people who have modified cars that love to just chill in a parking lot and go to a car show because God forbid somebody just enjoys cars for cars. You don't have to go to a track. It makes it more fun when you do. But if you just want to go to a car show and vibe and build a car and have something fun on the street, that should be fine. But as this gets worse, now those people are getting profiled as being part of the problem. I have friends in California and Florida and Texas that have gotten pulled over for no other reason than because cops believe that that car that they're in was at a takeover, or because it's modified, or because it's slammed, or because it's a BRZ or an FRS, or God forbid a Dodge Charger. It's now public enemy number one. And that is crazy to me because we're actually not that far away from something like this. In my opinion, in my old man opinion, when I look at stuff like this, it's awesome to see that there's a win on this, but it took 40 years. Imagine if somebody comes out and says, street takeovers are so bad, we are now going to ban in our county the ability for any group of cars or group of people to come together in a parking lot, business of any kind, no matter what, because we have reason to believe that if you have a modified car, you are going to start a takeover. That is exactly what happened here 40 years ago. Almost. I'm generalizing, obviously. And that is probably going to happen again. Or at least I think it will. You'll have to let me know what you think, but hats off to the people that made cruising legal again. I know that there's probably a mountain of people that had to fight for this every single day to make it legalized, and I think that's absolutely awesome. Where I get a little bummed out is the fact that as we look to this and as we celebrate how cool of a thing this is, there are people out there that are trying to make this thing happen again, and that comes in the form of street takeovers, which if you participate in them, you are a piece of shit. I'm Alex, AlexMartini with 2 underscores on Instagram. Let me know what your thoughts are, and of course, we'll see you on the next one. Adios.